pledge.
Okay. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll take a roll call. Councilmember Gully. Councilmember Figueroa.
Here.
Councilmember Steele.
Present.
Councilmember Min.
Here.
Councilmember Conley Wilson.
Present.
Councilmember Soriento. Here. Council President Mantello is here. We have all 7 present, 0 absent. Presentation of the agenda, as I mentioned, we have a number of budget issues. We also at the front desk, for anyone that would like to go along with us, we have the proposed amendments from the minority and the majority. They are on the front desk if you'd like to take a look at those. We'll also be acting on those. Saying that, as I mentioned, before we go into the public forum, I'd like to ask Andy just to talk about a couple things, an overview of the budget. And before Andy does that, just so folks are aware, after the amendments are voted on, we're going to take, we'll be at ease. We will not be adjourning. We'll be at ease. Andy will go to his magic computer in his office. He will whip up the final calculations, etc., whatever passes, whatever doesn't pass. So we'll be at ease. And the order that we'll be going in, folks, Resolution 116 will be the first to be acted on. We'll obviously make a motion a second, then go into the amendments from there. Okay. So Andy, if you could just give us an overview of the tax cap. I didn't realize you and I spoke today. There is some money, some wiggle room being under that tax cap. If you could talk about that, inform the council, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I will ask, before we get started, that we go very slowly tonight, just so that we can, as we go. And this number, before I get into this, for those council members that I gave the number that we were under the cap to earlier today, that has changed slightly upon verification with the state comptroller's office this afternoon. The beginning point tonight is the mayor's proposed budget. The mayor's proposed budget, as we sit here tonight, is $138,734 under the New York State property tax cap.
Can you say that again, Andy?
138,734.
Okay. That's what's remaining with the 1.98, correct?
So it's based off of a tax levy of that's a tax levy of $28,035,903. Just to note, as amendments are being done this evening, it is not a dollar. If a dollar is added to the budget, it does not mean it's a dollar. It doesn't mean it drops to 138,733. Under New York State law, the bid levy is part of the property tax cap calculation. So I don't have the exact dollar, and figure it to be somewhere around every dollar the levy increases. Think of it as a dollar, probably somewhere between $1.03 to $1.05. Then take that out over thousands, just to make council members aware as we go through this.
Okay. You want to add anything else? All right. Thank you, brother.
There are scenarios. There's not one amendment on the agenda this evening that would exceed the property tax cap. What there are is certain combinations of amendments would then exceed the property tax cap. And there is, as you know, no local law on the agenda this evening to override the tax cap, which is required under New York State law to exceed that tax cap.
Well, and to override it anyway, you would have to have 3 public hearings. You'd have to introduce the local law, have 3 public hearings, et cetera, et cetera. I can only speak for myself. I have no intention to override the tax cap. So what I would like you to do as we go through the amendments, when we get at the end, let it, or even before the end, if you could keep us apprised as we go along.
So I will do the best I can on the floor. That is one of the main reasons why I have requested the break in between the amendments. And there's 3 reasons why I would like to have a break once amendments are completed. The first is to verify that we're under the tax cap. The second is assuming one amendment passes, resolution 116 needs to be amended along with ordinance 72.
72.
So if one amendment passes, both 116 and 72 will need to be amended on the cover page as well.
Yep. And the order we're going to go in is resolution 116, then we'll do the amendments, then Andy will take off for a little bit. We'll go into ease, come back, 72, 70, then 71. Okay. All right, we're going to open it up to a public forum. I would just ask that you state your name, and you don't have to give your exact address, but a location, vicinity would be very nice. Okay, so would anyone like to address the council on any item on this evening's agenda? It won't be give and take, Eric. It's public forum, but if you have.
But I can ask questions about the whole budget.
Absolutely, and well.
So I'd like to start with, we've gotten some grants recently, 800,000+ for training. That'll affect new hires. That's money that won't be spent in the fire department budget. We got a $3.6 million grant for staffing. So the way I understand it in the budget, there's always 113 positions in there. Maybe Andy can verify this. So even if we hire, there's still the money there because the grant's going to cover those positions, right? That's all extra money. The Medic 3 has been on duty this year, all year long. As of the end of October, it did 1,400 transports. That wasn't mentioned in the ambulance revenue. Medics 1, 2, and 4, I believe, were mentioned, not the revenue from Medic 3. I'd like to know what that revenue is. And
Can you go a little slower on
Sure.
that one?
Medic 3.
Yep.
That's the surge ARPA ambulance for the daytime. I don't believe when the ambulance revenue was presented that ambulance was included in the revenue. It did 1,399 transports as of the end of October. But back to the grants, if we hire, that money's still in the budget for those positions and using the grant to pay for those positions. If we hire 12 people at $70,000 a piece, that's $840,000. Where does that money go? Right, and then we're gonna pay for their paramedic school and their EMT school on top of that. That wouldn't come out of the budget. Where's all this money going? Right? On that, as the chief stated when he presented the budget, calls are up 1,000 as of the end of October. That's 100 calls per month, right? That's unsustainable with the amount of manpower we have. It was unsustainable before the 1,000. It was unsustainable before COVID, and we've done nothing to address it other than the peak ambulance during the daytime. Now that peak ambulance has also been on at night while the construction work's going on at Engine 6. And for multiple fires, H Street, it was there to assist in a rescue. That would have never happened if they weren't there. They were the only transport ambulance on 21st Street when 4 people jumped out the window. Councilmember Steele emailed myself, the chief, the deputy mayor, and the mayor. She was concerned about the operations of the fire department. I responded back that I would be willing to meet with her, anybody in that email thread, or at a public safety meeting. I never got a response. $300,000 for a study. That hasn't been spent. Why can't we use that money for Manning? Right? I think we're never gonna get a study. The study's gonna show that we need way more guys than we're asking for, and I don't think it's ever gonna happen. You know, I think I mentioned this last time, the city of Worcester, they did a study. Their study said they had to have 4 guys on an engine, 4 guys on a truck. They're adding 60 guys right now. Lucky for them, they wrote their grant to add guys, not just to fill their vacancies. And, you know, I mentioned this memo that the chief put out about a piece of missing equipment. And in an attempt to be a nice guy, I've allowed the volume of calls and the staffing shortage to affect the good order of the department. That's not complacency. That's being too busy to be able to do everything we do, right? It's nonstop a lot of times, especially in the mornings. You know, it goes, the other day at 10 o'clock, the hospital was a half-hour wait, 9 hours in the waiting room. By noontime, the ambulances have done 5 calls already. You know, that's most days. But I think the disservice to you guys is the chief put an original budget together and told us he was adding 2 guys, 8 guys total, 2 guys a day minimum manning. And that budget never made it to you. It made it to the mayor's office where it got nixed, and the budget that was presented to you didn't ask for any manning due to the increase of call volume and all these occurrences that are going on with the ambulances. I don't think you're getting a full picture of what goes on here. I don't think that's the proper process for the budget. I think the chief's budget should come to you guys without any interruption, and he has to ask for the needs of the department. He's the highest trained, most educated, highest ranking official in the fire department. There's nobody in the city that has as much knowledge about the operations of this fire department than he does. And if he's asking for 2 guys in his original budget and that gets nixed, that's not good when something goes bad. So on the end, you know, we have to do something. We have to start adding somewhere. We really appreciate 2 guys a day, minimum man. But something has to be done here before something goes bad, right? This is like putting up the stop sign at the intersection because there's going to be an accident. Let's put the stop sign up before something happens to somebody. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Andy, do you mind answering just a couple of those questions? I mean, they are good questions. The 3.6 mil to cover the positions, and then the 100K for the tree. Thanks.
You're welcome. So the SAFER grant for staffing has not been accepted yet by the city council. The $800,000 AFG grant was accepted by the city council, I believe, at the October city council meeting. I believe it was October. It was the city council meeting where we had, I think, close to 8 to 10 grants on the agenda itself. At that meeting, we discussed the fact that grants will no longer, I believe we discussed it as well at one of the budget hearings. Grants are no longer in general fund. They are now moved out to the miscellaneous special revenue fund. As we had previously discussed, I have seen now firsthand the benefits of having grants isolated to the miscellaneous special revenue fund. It's the CM fund. It's where American Rescue Plan projects are. I think it works more efficiently, and there's an ease of reporting for the financials of the city. It's also something that was, when we made that accounting change, it was something that was consulted with both with the state and Bonadio, who both advocated for us doing that. So that's the status of both of those grants themselves. In regards to
Andy, when will we receive the request to accept the 3.6?
probably January.
Okay. And when you put those in the special revenue fund, when they're expended, how do you account in the general fund? Because obviously it has an impact on the general fund.
So well, if
Your
you,
time's
if
up.
you,
I'm sorry.
follow me, if you can vote and go on.
You're not leaving.
So you look at, you have your budget. I appreciate it. If you look at, if you have your budget with you and you look at page, if you look at page 110 of the budget document itself, and if someone doesn't have their budget, Look, I have
We
one right here.
We're sharing.
You'll see two salary savings lines in the document. Well, the first stat and stack, the first is $50,097. The second is $380,223. $380,000 is representative of the Safer Grant salary costs in the 2023 budget. Salaries would, so we show the position in the general fund. And then a reduction because it will be an expense in the miscellaneous special revenue fund. Again, that is consistent with the practice that I saw for, but honestly, it's something I saw for 6 weeks and it was very efficient. It allows you to show the true cost of your operations on an annual basis, as opposed to putting grants in and throwing off revenues and expenditures annually.
Council President?
Yep.
So I have a
Councilmember
question.
Figueroa.
With those grants, is there any way to maneuver some of that money for the manning that the department needs?
This is the $380,223 is already assigned, for a lack of better words, to specific vacancies within the department.
So we can work on,
It's already.
It's a fully appropriated for it. A lot of time went into that specific piece of the budget because this is an accounting change that we've done this year.
And to dovetail what Councilmember Figueroa said about the 3.6.
That is
Yeah.
part of the 3.6. The 3.6 covers multiple years. It's not a
Oh,
one-year
so-
grant. It's a 3-year grant, from my understanding.
It's a 3-year grant.
Yes.
So.
That's the cost portion that is in next year's budget. The grant would also reimburse benefit costs as well. We budget pension to what New York State gives us. Therefore, we do not budget the impact from Safer there. That's consistent with what we've done. It's consistent with what I have done for 7 years now. We do not budget health insurance plans for vacant positions. That's a consistent practice now going on at least 6 years, if not 7 years as well.
Okay. I think,
Ambulance billing.
the ambulance.
So the revenues for ambulance billing were based exclusively off of current year collections. So we've talked about throughout, there's different methodologies for every single line. We looked at the actual amount, we recognize revenue for ambulance billing, not on calls, on what is paid to us. That's consistent with GAAP, government generally accepted accounting principles. I used only this year because of the surge staffing, the ARPA money for surge staffing that's currently ongoing. Because if I use prior years, I wouldn't be accounting for the additional ambulance that's there this year. Why you see a revenue increase in the 2023 budget.
Yeah, which we did talk about, but didn't go as in depth hearing. And the study, are we not going to do the study there?
No, I'd still like to do this study. I just haven't found a firm that has the expertise in the areas that I'm looking for. It doesn't matter to me what the study shows. I want objective facts. I want objective information. Whether we can meet the demand or meet the recommendations of the study will be something we need to discuss and maybe plan for over a period of years. So it's not that we have concerns about this, what the study will show. Just trying to find a consultant that has that blend of EMS services plus experience or knowledge around where the healthcare industry is moving, particularly with shortages in staffing at hospitals, which is causing a great deal of problem for us. And we've all read about it recently in the TU, I presume. So it is, given that that's such a big factor in the challenges for our staffing, it would be money not well spent if we didn't include that in our study as well.
Council President?
Councilmember Figueroa.
Have we looked at other municipalities and see their studies and who they used?
I have, but every municipality is different. So not everybody does full EMS services that we do. A department may not do transport the way we do transport, or they may have different billing arrangements. So it's very hard. I haven't found an apples to apples comparison. I have spoken to a few firms and I'm just not confident that they can do what we need to do at this time.
Is there maybe, we looking at a couple months, couple weeks? I mean, we do
Well,
understand. I do-
ideally, I would have
Yeah.
had it.
Because I do understand the concern that Eric has, and,
yeah.
you know, as a council, we definitely want to get those studies. They get a lot of calls, and I mean,
I share those concerns and
Yeah.
that's why I proposed the study. I just don't want to spend money on something that doesn't turn out to be useful for us, for our situation. So I'll keep you posted.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Figueroa. Would anyone else like to address the council, speak on any item on the agenda? Now's your time. Okay.
Good.
All right, we'll close the public forum. We're going to go into resolution 116. Before we go into resolution 116, I am going to withdraw amendment number 3. So I'm taking amendment number 3 out. So that will be withdrawn. Okay. All right. So resolution 116, resolution adopting the mayor's recommended budget for the city of Troy for fiscal year 2023 or adopting an amended budget for the city of Troy for fiscal year 2023. Councilmember Steele, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Gully, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Min. We'll go into the amendments. I want to preface our package really quick. But, I know that, when you present a package like this, sometimes there's, just some confusion, et cetera. So a couple of things. The minority really rolled up our sleeves. We looked. Obviously, we went line by line, and I think folks know not every municipality does what we do, but we spend countless hours to go line by line to see if we can save money, to ensure that obviously the taxpayers and the residents, that every penny is being spent how we feel. It's not always how the majority feels or the mayor feels. This is how we feel. So saying that, we felt it was very, very important, number one, to address the firefighting staffing shortage. We know that this issue began before COVID. We know that COVID literally quadrupled this issue. And now, with staffing shortages in hospitals, it's having an impact, obviously, even more. So we have been hit 3 times, and we're in a very unique situation where we have a city-run ambulance. We obviously fight fires. So our men, and hopefully women in the future, are on double and triple duty. We also understand that OT is totally out of control right now, and that the firefighters are literally working some around the clock, and we know that morale is also an issue. But saying that, I know a lot of firefighters are in the audience, and we applaud you guys for everything you do, and we thank you. So from the minority standpoint, we really felt, okay, we've put some Band-Aids on the firefighting staffing crisis issue. We're putting money in to overtime. We've received some money for grants. Peak hours, we're, amending the manning to address some of the peak hours. And I know the chief and the mayor and all of us have really worked to try to put together a short-term solution. That's why last year, we appropriated that ARPA money for the $300,000 study, because we know how important it is to have a long-term solution to this crisis. And don't get me wrong, like, we know at least what's going to come back, probably more firefighters, sure. But we also need to take a look at the 30-year model for the ambulance, the city-run ambulance. I was here on the council when I was 15. But I was here when that city-run ambulance was passed, and I was one of the sponsors of that. And I truly believe that the foresight back then, it was the right call. And here we are 30 years later with a second to none city-run ambulance. I also know that the private ambulances are having their problems and their issues. So we potentially really could have been at a dead end street in terms of ambulance service to the people of Troy if we didn't have that city-run ambulance. So I truly believe Gary Fabro, Phil, and the retirees really had foresight back then. But fast forward, our city has changed. The demographics have changed. We have more apartment buildings here in the city of Troy than we've ever had. We have more calls than we've ever had. So we felt no matter what, instead of continuing, and yes, we're going to continue putting OT money in, but we felt we have to start somewhere. The RFP has to get out the door. I mean, there's unbiased firms all across the country. There's other municipalities, as Eric mentioned, we have to get that RFP out the door. It's pertinent to get that out the door. But more importantly, we felt we have to start somewhere in terms of increasing the positions. Is to the panacea, one of our colleagues said, this isn't going to help. Of course it's going to help. However, it's not the panacea, but we have to start somewhere. So the minority said, okay, we're going to pay for this by not filling some vacancies. I have withdrawn number 3 because now in the past 3 weeks, probably recognizing that we might not fund it, ended up filling this particular position. So I am withdrawing it. And I'll also talk about each individual amendment, but our goal was we need to address this issue. We need to ensure that the taxpayers and residents that, God forbid, we have been so fortunate that a horrific incident hasn't happened. So saying that, we feel very strongly about the 2 firefighter positions. I did talk to Andy, even if the majority decides not to leave these positions vacant, we potentially could have money for 2 firefighter positions. We won't be able to do some of the other things in here, but we need to talk about that as a council. And I'm hoping that we can come together, find a happy medium. The first, just to go into these with, then secondly, as we feel very strongly, as many of you know, we had legislation, the council passed it unanimously. It doesn't cost another penny. It's all about running our departments more efficiently, essentially getting our departments to kind of take down those silos, take one block at a time, put code enforcement, our community police, our DPW, our litter patrol officers, and essentially begin to tackle some of our neighborhood issues. So the quality of life task force is very, very important to us. We know that the neighborhoods are craving for it. Every district needs it. We feel strongly about that, and we are imploring that the mayor please take a second look at that. The legislation did go into effect, but we can't make the mayor put the task force together. We are once again requesting that the mayor implement the quality of life task force, and we'll do whatever we have to do from our end to help fast forward that. Thirdly, we feel also our senior clubs, and I noticed that the majority actually put in for 15. I'm not sure if the 3 clubs are still active. I only heard from the Troy Senior Club So I'm not sure if the Lansingburg and the East Side are still active. If they are, we would support, maybe 3 or 4K a piece. I know you put 15 in, but depending on that amendment, but we felt strongly, they were really hurt during COVID, and other municipalities appropriate money to their senior club. So this is also a priority for us. And then lastly, very important to us are our employees. Over the years, I've been on the council now for 7 years, and somehow, even before Mayor Madden, I'm not pointing to Mayor Madden, but somehow our retirees, we put on the wayside. We basically don't give them a nice send off. We know that there's money in that particular account that we identified, END, the 403, I believe. But we know that there's monies in there for an annual luncheon, just to say thank you to our retirees, a pin, whatever, just to say thank you. It happens in other agencies, other private sectors. I feel very strongly that our retirees should get a nice send off. And so saying that, something very simple, doesn't cost oodles of money, just an annual luncheon to thank our retirees. But our big one here and our whole mantra and our whole priority is to ensure that our taxpayers and residents are seeing more in the budget than the budget presents. There were a number of positions that were proposed that have been filled to date. Some of these positions that haven't been filled, they've gone a year and a half or a year without being filled. We certainly believe that our employees are very capable of picking up some of the pieces, and we didn't take a scalpel out and slash positions, et cetera. We really looked at this very common sense wise, and obviously protecting our services that are in place right now. So I wanted to give that overview, but like I say about the fire department, this in no way is a panacea, but we felt so strongly we have to start somewhere. So that's kind of our proposals overview. And if we want to go amendment by amendment. Okay. So the first amendment, we are calling to leave the Deputy Director of Public Information vacant. Let us fill you in on some of the logic behind that. What we felt, we understand it's important to have a PIO officer, a public information officer. However, in this year's budget, if you recall, the prior deputy mayor, we have a non-rep agreement. The non-rep agreement provides like a 3-4% increase per year. Our prior deputy mayor received a middle of the year close to $10,000 raise. The new deputy mayor came in, he assumed not only that, position with the raise, but now potentially will receive another 3% on top of that raise. So essentially what we're saying, the deputy mayor can pick up the public information duties, and we'd like to leave the director of public information vacant for the year of 2022 because, the salary is definitely up there. I get it. We're all busy, but at the same time, obviously information is getting out the door. We're seeing traffic advisories. We're seeing, pertinent information, and maybe some of the fluff stuff gets put on the back burner. But guess what? If somehow we can save a little money to hire a couple of firefighters, we feel that's very important. So the First Amendment, you'll see it will save a total of $64,590 by leaving that position vacant for the year of 2023. And honestly, if we find 6 months into it, like we talked about last year, we can obviously relook at these. But we are recommending 12-month non-funding for that position. So I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Soriento, discussion? Sure.
Probably better if it's not on. I think that we're conflating two unrelated issues here, someone's salary and whether or not the PIO should be filled. We talk about the importance of quality of life and paramount in that is communication. The public information officer is very much needed. I think it's totally unrealistic to expect someone else to completely fill that position and do their own job. And I think in your heart of hearts, you know that's totally unrealistic. So I would definitely not support this amendment. And I think it's very short-sighted. Looking down the road, what does that say to another administration coming in? Not important. Don't need communication to the residents. We'll just put that on the back burner. So I would oppose this amendment.
Okay. And I appreciate, your thoughts on that. I obviously strongly disagree as someone who oversaw an agency of 600 people. We actually merged a couple departments and we actually did more with less. And I saw it firsthand. As I say, I oversaw 600 people and we were able to tap into various folks who could double duty. I know for a fact I've asked requests from the deputy mayor. To date, I have not received them. Saying that I totally disagree with that. And frankly, many of the communications are still getting out the door, Councilmember Steele. And I just totally disagree with it. And, we're seeing obviously communications going out the door. Further discussion?
Council President.
Yep. Councilmember Min.
I do think that, one of the things that we learn is like in a vacuum of information, people assume the worst. And, one of the things that's really important about good governance is constant communication, including the tedious details, the stuff that maybe doesn't seem that important, but actually like helps people understand what your city is doing, why you should move to a place, why you should bring your business here. It also creates a historical record of what we as Trojans are doing at this moment in time. And that position also is the first person for FOIL requests. And we have a legal obligation to respond to those within a certain period of time. And if they start falling through the cracks, it opens us up to legal liability. And so to consolidate that position into your deputy mayor, who is doing a lot of operational work, and run the risk of not having FOIL requests, again, public accessing the information that they have paid for through their taxes, and then not being able to access it creates not only a perception that your city doesn't care about you and your concerns, but also a legal risk. So I think this position in itself serves and makes our jobs actually easier because you get more information out there. So I do think that this serves multiple functions. And I do want to see, for our deputy mayor to be able to do work across departments with department heads to bring down those silos and to have the time and capacity to do that well, not get her done, Band-Aid on it, but do it properly. So I do think that it is important to fill this position.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Min. Further discussion? Okay,
Council President.
yes, Councilmember Gully.
when I listen to the facts that the majority brings out, I think it's all about interpretation. I understand a good PI person is important to a lot of operations. But in this city, we hardly get more than 5 people that will listen into a council meeting where they can sit at their home. And I doubt that most of them even look at the information that goes out unless it's broadcast through a paper and put in a paper. So I don't see where the great value is there compared to a firefighter that could be boots on the ground for our citizens. We have 51,000 citizens. It's not the 100, 200 people that work in City Hall. The messages do get out, and I understand that. But for me, the other word is priorities. I mean, it's a priority to fix the problems. We're not having a problem with the PI guy. Nobody's paying attention anyways out there. And the limited people who get that message will be underserved compared to the value of enforcing better service to our residents through our safety factors. And this is important. This is an important piece. You stand the firefighter up there and a PR guy next to each other, and please tell me who you think would have a bigger impact to this city, for the residents. So it's all about interpretation. You don't agree with my interpretation, and I certainly don't agree with yours. I'm not asking for much, but I think it's important that the 7 of us sitting up here really respond to what the taxpayers truly need, not what we think we have to do internally, but what we do to get boots on the ground that serve the people of this city and take some of the pressure of the situation, the boiler pot that we're sitting in this situation, until we start to make a move. And I will tell you that these 2 firefighters are not even close to the cure. But if we don't start with 2 now, and 2 later, and 2 down the road, we're never going to get to where we need to be to take care of these people properly. And I know it means taking out some positions, not taking a position, but just defunding those positions for this year, or maybe even only 4 months or 6 months, because it's not a permanent thing. We're not saying they're going away. We're not going to fill them. What we're saying is right now we're sitting here with a priority, just like most homeowners do at the end of the month when they say, oh, am I going to go out and get the paper today, or am I going to put food on the table? There's always a choice. It's a priority, it's interpretation. And I just hope that in here we find one of you that will say, hey, you know, we do serve the people, 51,000, and this would be something that would impact them greatly long-term, because the firefighter is not going to come in for 6 months anyway, but long-term, over the next 10, 20 years, the decision you make tonight starts a ball rolling for that process. That's all I want to add. I appreciate and respect all your votes, whatever way they go.
Further discussion?
Council President.
Yep, Councilmember Soriento.
So going back to the to this position, even if it is funded, what is the guarantee of it, even of someone even applying for it, of it even being filled? And also echoing Councilmember Gully's statement with the firefighters. So we anticipate that the firefighter exam will be held. It is scheduled by the state for February 11th. And I see that with the special requirements of obtaining the paramedic certification being removed. And so therefore I do anticipate a larger pool of candidates. With a larger pool of candidates, I do not see how the vacancies plus the additional 2 positions would not be filled from the new eligible list being established. The additional 2 firefighter positions, funding them, it's not about political motivation. It's about safety for our residents and for our fire personnel. So I want to say, I think it's really important of the fact that we do absolutely fill those vacancies, try our best to, and add those 2 positions. It's not going to resolve the overall issue, but it's a start. So that's what I got to say with that.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Council President,
Yep.
one more thing.
Councilmember Gully.
And I apologize.
It's okay.
These amendments we put to not fill these positions and just defund them for this year has nothing to do with saying they're not necessary. But in order to start the ball rolling properly without hurting the taxpayers, we would have to eliminate funding in some positions to create the $140,000 or so that it would take to fund the 2 firefighters moving forward. And that, in a big world of $72 million, that doesn't seem like a lot in a budget. So, but it is when you think about, it's going to be 135 times, 4 different times over our course of time. And, after next year, I won't be here. But you all have the responsibility to help the city be safe and have it grow properly. And I just hope that you understand that these moves today are not because we don't appreciate or think that the positions are important. It comes down to that priority. But I will tell you this as we speak tonight. Without your support and without being able to recognize the situation we're in right now in this current time, real-time situation, to make this transition and help to cure this problem, and we don't get support on these amendments, we will not be able to put through that push to the 2 firefighters that we desperately need. So I just want you to know, that's the weight that we carry here at the table, that if we don't try to agree on some of these positions to make this happen, it will not happen. So I just want to be clear about that as we move forward, because as we're going through this, if the amendments don't come in, it won't happen, because what'll happen is, Councilman Figueroa, what'll happen, no, he's got a great question. I understand that. I understand what I can and
I
can't
have
do.
to
I got it.
cede the floor.
I got it.
Councilmember Go.
I got it. So my thought is, you're right, it could happen. But in order to do that, we'd have to push the cap over the mark. And we don't want to do that to taxpayers either. So we have to be frugal. We have to look at what we can and can't adjust, not eliminate, just adjust to get the ball rolling. And this is the process that we're in tonight. Whether you interpret it that way or not, it is what it is. And that's where we're at.
Council President, I would call a question on what we are talking about right now is the public information officer.
Correct.
And nothing else.
Well, Councilmember Steele, it has an impact on the
You
2
have framed
hirings.
You have framed it that way, but
No,
it doesn't. You
it
have
is that
framed
way.
it that way.
Councilmember Steele.
Not all of us need to interpret it that way. You have framed it that way, and you would like that to be the interpretation. That is not
Councilmember Go.
necessarily, that is not necessarily complete or accurate. So could
I
we
do.
please vote on this amendment?
Councilmember Steele, further discussion. I want to add something. One of the things I've seen in government, not just here in the state also, if somebody's not doing their job or we're not getting good results from a department, we need more staff. We need more staff. It's not always about more staff. We can do more with less. That's what this position is all about. I know we can. In terms of the foils, of course, somebody can pick up that duty. That is not an 8-hour, full-time, every day, foil.
Called the
So
question.
saying that,
called the question.
I understand, Councilmember Steele,
Called the question.
expressing a couple items that were mentioned. Councilmember Steele, I have the floor right now, please. So stating that this is not short-sighted, this is looking at a position, do more with less. And who's to even say with 12 months left in a term that somebody will come on board? We know how difficult it is getting somebody to take a job for a year. I'm going to take a slow roll. Councilmember Gully,
Yes, of course.
Councilmember Figueroa, Councilmember Steele,
No,
Councilmember Min,
No.
Councilmember Conley Wilson. No. Councilmember Soriente.
Yes.
And Council President Mantello, I think we've exhausted this first amendment. Very disappointing. But if we look back a year ago now, or a year and a half ago, the minority proposed 2 police officers in the budget. Guess what? It was shot down. Guess what happened mid-year? 6 new police officers. So saying that, we are setting the foundation. We must hire more firefighters, and they are directly related because we must decrease the budget to get the monies in for the firefighters. I vote aye. Unfortunately, Amendment 1 is voted down 4-3. Amendment number 2. This position is in the comptroller's office. This was a new position created. No, this was not the one from 2022. Gotcha. Okay. Stating that we are proposing to leave the principal accountant clerk vacant in the comptroller's office for 12 months of 2023. It is small savings, but a total of $24,366 in the salary and another $1,864 in Social Security. We don't include the health insurance. I will make a motion for that amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Soriento. On the discussion, I'll take a slow roll. Councilmember Gully.
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Steele.
In voting no, I want to just remind the firemen who are here tonight that our actions do not in any way discount the fact that we support you and we respect you and we are grateful for the service that you do. And regardless of how this is being framed, I want you to take away that message with you this evening. I would like to, in supporting this and keeping this amendment in the budget, it's necessary for all of our residents to know that they can count on the services at City Hall. And they need to know that when they show up, there's going to be someone there to answer their questions. This is a needed position. And I definitely support its retention in the budget. So I am voting against this amendment.
Councilmember Min.
I guess I'll also explain my vote. You know, one of the places where we all interact with the city is coming to pay bills. And I have to commend the professionalism in the treasurer's office, comptroller's office. Not everyone's happy about watching money go out the door. And so I think having that office fully staffed is really important. It is part of the different places where your city touches you. It's those news stories. It's your fire department. It's your police. It's also when you pay your parking tickets, you pay your taxes. So I do think this position, though it is not a big salary, it is important. So I do vote against the amendment to eliminate this position for funding for this position for the year.
Councilmember Conley Wilson.
I vote no on the amendment.
Councilmember Soriento.
I vote yes, and I also would like to just state that this position, it's for the comptroller's office. I think what you mean is the treasurer's office where you go and pay your bills. This is not the position for the treasurer's office. It's in the comptroller's office. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Councilmember Soriento. Once again, you know, it is being looked at very short-sighted. It is related. We need to find additional money in order to hire and increase our firefighter department, our fire department in terms of positions. So they are directly related, whether you like to hear it or not. And, you know, I do hope, you know, we talk about $50,000 study because we can find money for a $50,000 study, but we can't find money to essentially leave a position vacant to hire firefighters. I truly believe, and I will say I'm a little disappointed that my colleagues aren't even discussing leaving some of these positions vacant, knowing that there were close to 18 new positions added in this year's budget. So saying that, I know firsthand you can do more with less. I know that our employees can take on other tasks. And, you know, I know that certainly, you know, this position could obviously be dual tasked by another position. So I vote aye. Once again, amendment number 2 fails 4-3. Let's go to amendment number 4. Amendment number 3 was withdrawn. Amendment number 4. This particular position is the health and safety coordinator, stating that we are aware during COVID this position came about. It was left vacant for quite some time, then filled, now is vacant again. We are recommending that this position continue staying vacant for the next 12 months. I will make a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilmember Soriento on the discussion.
Council President?
Yep.
I was wondering about what the impact on our insurance, or if there are any other, like, if this position offers our HR department, like if it has an economic impact in terms of, even if it's a second degree removed.
I think the insurance area that you would hope to have the savings derived from that is workers' compensation, which the city self-insured for. The position was not, I would say the time period that it was filled for isn't enough time to ascertain a savings from the position itself monetarily, just because it was filled for less than a year, I believe.
So what we don't know is if that, by having that person, it would have, the goal is to have an impact and reduce workers' comp claims, because OSHA compliance and making sure that people are safe. You know, I know that we had concerns about dust in one of the fire departments for the fire stations where we were doing construction, and if that would be something that that person would come in to make sure that our employees are working in safe environments, and they would have that authority to then come to the administration, to the council, to raise these concerns. And perhaps, Mayor, you can speak to that if possible.
So yes, this position would look at working environment for all of our employees, and an audit had been started, and it may be completed, in fact, looking at the various departments. We have, I think it's important to keep in mind, we have a lot of employees engaged in very risky work. We have people who we are asking to enter burning buildings. We have people who carry guns and chase other people with guns. We have people who are in the ground repairing pipes and sewer lines. And we have people here who get paper cuts. Not to make light of it, but you know, we do put our employees at risk just by virtue of the services that we offer. And I think we'd all feel pretty terrible if someone were hurt and for whatever reason. So this is an effort to make sure that our working environment is safe for our employees. Even if it doesn't result in workers' comp savings, which I think it probably would, but we still don't want to see our employees injured on the job.
Thank you for that information.
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Gully.
Mr. Mayor, what did we do 40 years before you recreated that position?
What did we do before
What did the
that?
city do for the 40 years before that? They must have had a way to work with their employees and make sure they were safe.
We had injuries. We were cited by PESH. We did things wrong, and we're trying to rectify that now.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't
We
40
paid-
years worth of pain. I mean, for those few instances, I'm just trying to say, is it really something that there was a person in there, then they left, we still haven't filled it yet?
Well, what did we,
It
we
doesn't
did,
seem
we
like
did
there's a
not,
Priority at getting that in like it's an essential piece.
right.
I'm
We
just
did,
saying
we
that
did
maybe
not,
we should look at priorities.
we did not have that position until most recently.
Right, for COVID,
And we did do a lot of training
for COVID.
since
Right,
that position was filled.
I get it.
Council President,
Councilmember Soriento.
so back in my days of working full-time as a personnel technician, I took care of not only the civil service functions of that department, but I also took care of workers' comp claims. The training portion of it, there are programs out there. Actually, Target Solutions, which has been bought out by Vector Solutions, it amounts to about $34 per employee. And it provides at least 100 of different safety training programs. I can name a few: bloodborne pathogen safety, hazard communications, sexual harassment awareness for supervisors, reasonable suspicion of drugs and alcohol for supervisors. These are just to name a few. Ethics in the workplace, workplace diversity, workplace violence, office safety, that's a requirement. It's $34 per employee per year. So if you calculate that, and sure, fire personnel and police, it's a little bit more expensive because they provide more in-depth training. That overall cost would be a lot less than funding this position, which not only would you have to pay for the salary itself, which I believe it's about 60,000. Please, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're also paying for Social Security, and we're also paying for health insurance. That's a lot of money, where a lot of this could be eliminated by searching for programs. And Vector Solutions is it's a great program. I actually utilize it with my full-time job right now. I do workers' comp by myself. I do training by myself, and I'm not here to talk about me, but what I'm trying to say is we really have to focus on our priorities right now and really think about, thinking outside the box and seeing and saying to ourselves, what can we do to move the city forward with what we have? And how can we save some money here and there? And I think that's one of them. So that's just all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilmember Soriento. Further discussion? Take a slow roll. Councilmember Gully,
Yes, again.
Councilmember Figueroa, Councilmember Steele.
In voting no, I want to say I think it's a matter of respect for our employees. I think COVID certainly demonstrated to us that we need to be very mindful of our work environment, our air quality. It's going to take someone to spearhead that kind of an activity, not add to someone else's duties. So I would not be supporting this amendment.
Councilmember Min.
I got to admit, this one, and I've said to my colleagues, I've been of two minds about a lot. And I do think Councilmember Soriento brings up a really good point that there are different methods of training. And I apologize, Council President, I had a few more follow-up questions, but too quick. And it's all right. Because, I do realize how dangerous the work is. And the fire department was on my roof yesterday. So I'm well aware. And can we use technology to fill that gap? To set money aside and, we have a little wiggle room, but not that much wiggle room. Can we hire fire departments, more firefighters if we can fund the positions? I don't know. Don't know what the best is for this. But I do think that given some of the uncertain future financial conditions of the city that we're going to be in, and if we can try to find some wiggle room, this is one place we could try to use technology for a year. And so I will vote to not fund this position, but I'm going to ask that the council work with the mayor's office to see what options there are for doing this kind of training for the next year. So I will support this amendment.
Thank you, Councilmember Min. Councilmember Conley Wilson.
I personally don't think that you can use technology to fill this gap. I think there's a lot of training that the staff can do and that people can do virtually, but I find that typically when I'm doing online training, it's not as impactful as actually going in person, talking to someone about it, discussing it. So I'm voting no on this amendment.
Thank you, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Councilmember Soriento.
I'm going to vote yes, but just to let you know, so with COVID going on, there's a lot of because so like with Comp Alliance, EAP, I mean, things are changing where now they're coming back to saying, all right, we can do in-house training, which doesn't require funding this full-time position for that. But because of COVID though, a lot of these organizations that used to provide the in-house training will make you do it through online anyways. So, I mean, I'm not saying that this position is not valued. Every position is valued. But what I'm saying is the priorities right now. My biggest priority is basic services, funding our fire department, funding our police appropriately, cleaning up this, the garbage, our basic services that will benefit the taxpayers and benefit the residents. And will keep us safe and our fire personnel safe. That's my priority. So
Thank you,
vote yes.
Councilmember Soriento, your vote?
I said yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Before I vote, a couple quick things. Number one, the position is not slated to even be filled until mid-year. So clearly it's a position that is not a huge priority. And as mentioned, I want to make it also clear, any position can be justified to the hilt. All positions are necessary. If you go to a department, when you put the call letter out for a budget, of course they're going to say, we need A, B, C, and D. As mentioned though, what we are trying to do is save a little bit of money to begin to address a very, very critical public safety long-term issue. So this position is not even anticipated to be filled till mid-year. We're only saving $33,000 because it wasn't even slated to be filled in January. So saying that, clearly it's not up here on the priority list of the administration. So I vote aye. Amendment number 4 passes 4-3. All right. Amendment number 5. This, once again, Council Member Gully, Soriento, and myself, we are proposing to leave the senior parking enforcement officer vacant for the year of 2023. It will save approximately, I want to say, looks like 31,200 and change. I will make a motion to leave this vacant for the next 12 months. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Councilmember Soriento, discussion. Councilmember Gully, do you want to talk about this one quickly?
You all know how I feel.
It may not.
Full-time has long-term commitment, and it is taking away from other processes and funding we can use. That person can be part-time. The job can be set up with a job description compared to what the city administration feels they need in that position. It doesn't have to be full-time to tell a guy you have to do an event. You have to put it in the job description, make it part of the criteria. I'm not going to say anymore. I've said it. I'm not insulting the park department. I think they do a great job. And I think they do pretty well with their part-timers. And I think that this person can be flexed out and done part-time and save the taxpayers money and also allow us to move closer to our goal of doing better things in the city. So it's just the way I feel. And I'm not trying to insult anybody.
Yep.
For sure.
No problem. Further discussion?
Just Council President. to
Councilmember Steele.
clarify, do I read this that you're calling for it to be left vacant? So it's not an issue of full-time, part-time. It's just not going to be filled.
Correct.
Okay. It would be my contention that this is a position that probably would pay for itself in terms of the fines. And so I think it's very short-sighted to eliminate the position entirely.
Thank you,
Council
Council.
President.
Yep, Councilmember Steele. Thank you, Councilmember Going.
I do agree with Councilwoman Steele. However, not putting it in a budget doesn't mean it won't exist. It just means that we get through this, we try to reach our first goal of safety, which is trying to embellish and grow our safety force. It's not going to be just forgotten about, because I do believe that we put somebody in a part-time. When the mayor will come back with the job descriptions, hey, we're going to do this, I would gladly support that. But I want it to be a part-time thing on the hours they need with the job description that they require to fill the need of that department. So I will tell you that when they come back after the first year and they say, we'd like to do that, I would be in whole support of that. So I just want to let you know that, but I'm not in support of a full-time person.
Okay. Further discussion?
Council President.
Councilmember Soriento?
I have a question. This is one of the positions that is actually proposed to not be funded until July. Is that correct? Andy?
Yes.
I believe it's April 1st.
April.
Further discussion?
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Figueroa.
I just would like to ask that we don't, how can I say, we don't base our, the decisions that we making on our personal, way of working. A lot of the comments that I'm hearing is, well, I can do this, this, and that. I don't know if anybody have sat with the deputy mayor or any of the positions that we trying to eliminate on a day-to-day basis and actually seeing the work that's being done. Many have capabilities than others, right? My capabilities as a director where I'm at, I can do more than my employees, but I can't expect my employees to do more than what they can handle. So I'm seeing it time and time where we're speaking, we're like, well, I know for a fact because I've done this, I've done that. We're basing it on our personal opinions and the capabilities we have, but not what their job title or responsibilities that they have on a day-to-day basis. And that's not including what other responsibilities may come up within the job titles they have in City Hall, right? We all know, and we all know that we get hired for a position and we work that position, but then other responsibilities come within the city that we have to attack too. So just take some of that stuff into consideration.
Further discussion?
Council President.
Councilmember Min.
Andy, maybe this is where you can help me. I want to get the math right. Given past performance of the parking enforcement department and revenue generated by tickets, do these staff positions end up being essentially either revenue neutral or revenue generating?
If you give me 1 second, please.
Absolutely.
Are you asking specific to parking ticket revenue or all parking applicable revenues?
I would say if your parking enforcement officer is generating parking tickets, do the parking tickets they generate cover their salaries and benefits? That's my question.
It's not something I can, I think so. The struggle I'm having is parking expended, the expenditure department, 3320 encompasses all costs related to parking. So you also have in there, parking garages, lots, that those associated costs as well. But I would guess yes.
So the estimate is probably, it does become a revenue neutral position
I think that's a fair assumption to make, but pending an analysis of what that dollar actually is.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Council President.
Councilmember Gully.
Andy, are the parking attendants full-time or part-time?
Part-time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further discussion. Take a slow roll. Councilmember Gully.
Yes, please.
Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Steele.
No,
Councilmember Min.
No, because if your position is paying for itself, if it pays for itself, it
This
pays
is-
for itself.
this is the enforcement officer. It's not the parking lot.
Councilmember Conley Wilson.
No.
Councilmember Soriento.
Yes.
And Council President Mantello, very quickly, I just want to stress to anyone watching out there, we are not eliminating or laying off anyone. We are unfunding positions that are not filled right now. Some of them are proposed to be filled mid-year. This one isn't even proposed to be filled until April. Once again, it clearly is not a priority. And I once again want to take some of this money that we are proposing to save and put it to two new firefighter positions. I vote aye. The amendment goes down 4-3. Okay. Amendment number 6. This particular one, when you talk about code enforcement, obviously we want folks on the ground. We want obviously our code enforcement officers out there. I've been on the council now 7 years, and we have talked about zones for our code enforcement. We've talked about quality of life task force. We've talked about new efficiency, new ways to utilize our code enforcement more efficiently with other departments, with litter patrol, with DPW. To date, it has not happened. This particular position has been vacant for quite some time, I believe. And we are proposing, it's $37,650 savings with a 2080. And Andy, was this one also April, I believe? Might not be, might be January.
January 1st.
Okay. So I'm making a motion. Is there a second? To leave this vacant next
Second.
year? Second? On the discussion, I do want to add, while we spoke to code during the budget meetings, we talked about the department. And once again, I really feel that that department has so much opportunity, a wealth of knowledge. The folks there work hard, but I truly believe that there is, we'll say, not the most efficiently run department to date. And in terms of working with other departments, I feel that we could tap into that much more. Saying that, we're proposing to leave the compliance clerk vacant for the next 12 months. We have a motion. We have a second on the discussion. We'll take a slow roll. Councilmember Gully.
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Steele.
In voting no, I want to just make the point, couple points. One, we talk about eliminating vacant positions as if they're not necessary. I'd like to remind my colleagues that we have how many vacancies in the fire department at the moment? Does that mean they're 12? That mean they're not necessary and we could just eliminate them? I think that we need to, dial back a little bit and recognize that just because a position is vacant does not mean it is not necessary. And I think we need to acknowledge that in this economic climate, hiring is very, very difficult. The minority has hung their hat on quality of life task force. I can't think of a position this position is critical to maintaining the quality of life in our city. And so when we start gutting our departments, we're going back in time, in history. And we ought to look at what happened to our city when, in order to cut a few dollars here and there, we gutted the budget, we gutted our workforce. We were bare bones to the point where we could not develop or deliver services to our citizens. That's not the way to run a government, but that's what I see my colleagues proposing. And I understand you don't share my feelings on that, but I feel that in order to add 2 firemen to a department that is already with so many vacancies, I think our emphasis at this point collectively should be to work to get folks taking that exam and recruiting people to fill those vacancies. Let's get our force up to that level. Then we can begin to add positions. But to add positions to a department that is already gutted by vacancies, to me, I can't support it. So in this particular case, I feel that code enforcement should be at full force, and I cannot support this amendment.
Councilmember Min.
I spent a lot of time in the code department catching up with them and stuff. And I do know that on the in their office, they are hammered all the time. We want our code officers in the field, and then we need to see that they have the office and administrative support so that when there are violations that pile up, that those court cases can be developed. We can go to court, we can get in front of a judge, we can get a judgment, we can get unsafe buildings shut down. We can make sure that people have safe places to live. And that requires that support staff. And I know I've called code, quick question, in and out. And sometimes it's easier to come in and just talk to them, because it's hard to get somebody on the phone because they're always on the phone or they're always busy. And I really feel like this is one of the positions I've heard that department ask for and need, so that everybody else can go do their job really well. So I do not support unfunding this position for the year.
Thank you, Councilmember Min. Councilmember Conley Wilson.
Yeah, I think that this position is really important because it allows our code officers to go out into the field more often. And it just alleviates some of that work. And that was something that was repeated over and over again during the budget hearings. So I kind of saw this as a way to improve efficiency in this department and, improve kind of the response time to a lot of our quality of life issues in housing. So I am voting no on this amendment.
Thank you. Councilmember Soriento.
I'm voting yes.
And before I vote, a couple of facts. Number one, the position was actually created over 2 years ago, has not been filled to date, is still vacant, and we are proposing to keep it vacant. Number two, as you mentioned, paperwork, answer phones. I'm sorry if they have been filled in 2 years. Why is it so critical in 2023? It should have been critical when it was first proposed 2 years ago. Number two, gutted. Literally in the 2022 budget, we know that there were at least, I want to say 15 positions. I will get the absolute number, but there were over a dozen new positions added to the budget. Most of those positions have been filled. Some have been not. What we decided to do is not take a scalpel out, not gut it, we're looking at positions very cautiously to ensure that departments aren't gutted. And quite frankly, when you mention the fire department, yes, they have vacancies. Yes, hopefully that exam is on target. Yes, we shouldn't be having a fee for that exam, much like Schenectady is not having a fee. But saying that this is not just about adding 2 positions to 12 vacancies. The 2 positions added will help the fire department with their manning situation. As I mentioned, it's not a panacea, but it will alleviate some of the OT and some of the issues that they're facing on a day-to-day basis. It's not add 2, 14 vacant. It's about adding positions to increase the manning to assure that our taxpayers and residents are not going to have a horrible incident. So saying that, this is a matter of priorities. A housing compliance clerk that has not been filled for 2.5 years and 2 firefighter positions added to increase the manning, knowing that we have to work very, very hard to recruit to fill those vacancies. I vote aye. Unfortunately, the amendment goes down. So at this point, Angie, we head to number 7. We want to hire the 2 additional. What we are going to ask you with the monies that you mentioned, sorry, I have my cheat sheet. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay, bear with me, 138,734. Obviously, you want that cushion. We have saved approximately 33,264. Very dismal, but it's something. Can we utilize, because obviously the 2 firefighters were looking at approximately 135K for 2 firefighter positions?
130,
134. Thank you. 134,604. So 134,604.
33,264.
Okay. Is what?
101,340.
101,340. No, you have to add that, right?
Take that away.
Oh, right,
So-
from the 138.
assuming, again, I have to put this and make sure the whole thing linked. And then it's only one amendment, but I want to make
I
sure the whole
understand
thing
that.
linked. I have it right now, $172,198 under the property tax cap,
Hold on one sec. 172,
198.
198. Okay. So we will skip 7 because obviously we have other amendments. And, obviously our goal is to hire the 2 additional within that range, but there are other amendments which may impact number 7. So, Mayor?
Council President, I wonder if I could offer some comments on 7 that may have an impact on subsequent amendments that are on the sheet. Is that okay? I know you don't want to do number 7 right now, but.
Well, we're obviously not voting on it, so,
I'd like to hear what he has to say.
prefer, if we're not voting on it, I want to obviously wait to discuss it to see what happens with the other amendments.
Well,
you know.
he's saying it may
It may
impact,
impact.
it may impact other amendments.
Okay,
So regarding number 7, I'd like to suggest that this is not something we need to discuss at this time. And I know that sounds like a brash statement, given everything that's been said here today. So I'd ask your indulgence while I explain. Currently, we have 12 vacancies in the department. And I would guess that given the historic overtime opportunities that have occurred over the past couple of years, we can reasonably expect a number of retirements in 2023. So before adding any positions, we'll probably be looking to add upwards of 16 firefighters this year. We may be able to pick 4 off of the current list, according to my most recent conversations with the chief. But after that, we need to await the results of the next test. And if history is any guide, that could be August of 2023. So that's several months down the road before we even begin the vetting process. So it will be a stretch to fill those 12 plus positions before we even get to the 2 that are being proposed in amendment number 7. If we get to those in 2023, it will be very late in the year. So I'd hate to see you levy tax dollars when we're reasonably certain that we can't spend them this year, which is a theme that you recognize in your comments as well. Now, as has been mentioned earlier, we did receive a federal SAFER grant a couple months back. And you will recall we did pull that from the agenda because we had some questions about how the grant was structured. And given other pressing priorities over the past couple of months, we haven't gotten to that yet. But within the next month or so, certainly no later than February, but more likely January, we will bring that into the council for acceptance and execution. It's likely that that grant will allow us to add additional staffing. And I think that that would be the time to discuss the level of increase we might be able to make and coordinate with the timetable that we might be able to hit in terms of hiring the additional staff. So my recommendation with respect to number 7 is to bring that up when we, in the context of the SAFER grant discussion in January, February at the latest. But again, I'd like to be able to get that wrapped up in January. We won't be able to hire before that time in any event, given the status of the list and awaiting the next exam. What I would urge everyone to do, and we have already started doing it here, is to turn people out for that test, advertise that widely. The chief tells me in the old days that we would have some 500 test takers for that position. I don't know that we'll get to that level again, just because of the changing workplace dynamics, but we certainly, with the reduced entry-level standards, we certainly could expect to have quite a few, but it will take time to get them through the test process, through our vetting process, through our testing process, and brought on board. So rather than, again, levying tax dollars for positions we probably can't fill until November, why don't we take it up in the context of the SAFER grant discussion?
I appreciate that, Mayor. I guess the overarching question, I was to believe by increasing the amount of positions, and I guess I'll, Eric, while we're on this, I'm not, obviously we get to fill those vacancies are a monumental task. However, increasing the positions has an impact on the manning, correct or no? Yeah.
Don't do it.
We need your mic.
We could add 2 spots tomorrow to the minimum manning. We'd have to fill those spots without enough employees with overtime. That's how we could address the issue instantly. Obviously, in the long term, we'd have to hire to make those a daily spot so they weren't overtime, and that would take a little time. The last test was given in May and was certified in August. I know the last test that we gave, the test after that we didn't give was in May and certified right after July 4th. So it seems like it's a 2-month period. But we need to get out there and advertise. We don't even have our announcement out yet. All the other cities have been out for up to 2 weeks. So you lose the potential for cross filers if people have already filed. But minimum manning would be the way to instantly address the issue. Obviously, it would take overtime to do that. The peak surge ambulance last year was 432. That was priced out at 2 captains every day on overtime. Obviously, there's not 2 captains every day there at overtime. This year, it's budgeted for 600,000. I don't understand where the difference is, but if we could get an answer for that, that may help too. But to address the issue instantly, we'd have to increase the minimum manning by 2. And then fill those vacancies as we could get people, and that would eliminate the overtime that those spots would take.
So if you increase your minimum manning by 2, that would be 8 additional.
Yes, correct, correct.
Council President?
Yep, but hold on one sec. And so needless to say, what you're saying is you need 8 additional.
To increase minimum manning by 2, we need 8. But we could fix the problem instantly by adding minimum manning tomorrow. And then you obviously you'd have overtime because you fill those spots, but they would be addressed in the hiring
So if
process.
you increased it by 2 and continue to use OT, which obviously we're doing, the
Mhm.
increase by 2 still would help,
It would offset those positions in the long run, yes, absolutely.
right? So I mean,
But-
don't get me wrong,
So-
we all recognize we need to fill. We
Right.
need
I
to fill.
think there's maybe in the mayor's part and in Sue's part, they don't understand minimum manning. It's a safety issue for the firefighters. And I'm just trying to educate. Don't take it the wrong way. It's a safety issue for the firefighters. It's also a safety issue for the citizens that we put the proper amount of people and equipment out on the street based on the call volume. So it's a safety issue for everybody. And with the call volume increasing as it is, we're not addressing that issue.
Okay, Councilmember Figueroa.
What's the estimate of time that a firefighter, once they go through training, they're fully ready to go? Start.
The academy, depending on timing, the academy's 14 weeks. If they're not an EMT school is 6 to 8 weeks, depending on where they go. And then paramedic school is like 11 to 13 months, depending on what class they get in.
And
But after how long they're able to?
Well, they can work in between if they're not in EMT school or paramedic school. So say there's a break where we can't get them into a school, they could actually work not to their full capacity because they're not paramedics or EMTs, but they could work and fill those positions and eliminate that overtime in the manning. You know, like during a holiday break, there's no classes at Hudson Valley for paramedics. So there's 2 weeks, 3 weeks that they could work and then go back to being in school.
yes. Yeah. Councilmember Figueroa also. And
Yeah.
Eric, or Mayor, I guess this one's for you. Have we even filed the test for February 11th?
I believe we have. I probably would defer to the chief. He may know, but Gabrielle would be the person that could answer that.
Okay, is the chief here?
Council President.
Hold on. Hi, chief. So sorry about you. Thanks. That's what these are for. Have we filed for the February 11th, chief, the exam?
Yeah, it's the city of Troy has requested the test. It has to go to the Civil Service Commission. I don't know, it was stated that other cities have their announcement out. I don't know about that, but I believe that it has to go to the Civil Service Commission. They set the dates and the parameters to make certain everything fits within the state timelines, and then the announcement goes out.
Okay, so we're waiting on civil service.
We're waiting on civil service. I believe that that's when civil service has their meeting and they set the dates to make certain that everything is within certain timelines,
Thank you.
that announcement will be created.
Okay.
Council
And
President.
Councilmember Soriento, then Councilmember Steele. And could we verify that at tomorrow, Andy? It's under kind of your purview, if you could verify if it is with civil service. Thank you. Councilmember Soriento, then Councilmember Steele.
Just want to let you know that, yeah, there are announcements out with other
Yeah.
with other civil service agencies. The exam scopes have been released, and I believe the counts that are due to the state are by January 29th. So I would Mayor, would you know when the Civil Service Commission meeting will be held?
It's 20th, December 20th.
Oh, God. Okay. That's not good.
We've already been doing some outreach.
Okay.
Sure, the mayor can give you, oh, I apologize, Councilmember Steele, then Mayor.
Well, actually, it was more for the chief. I was wondering if the department has the capability of doing recruiting videos, and it brought to mind the fact that there's another, if we had our public information officer, our previous one did lots of videos and was very helpful in terms of recruiting for the police exam. So another instance where PIO would have been helpful.
We could certainly partner with a firm to do something quick. I mean, that's quicker than hiring someone.
So through our parent organization, the International Association of Firefighters, we can go to New York City and use studio, any production stuff that they have to make a video, be no cost to any of us.
Are we doing that?
We can do that. I mean, we need the announcement so we can tie it into it,
Well,
but we can absolutely do that.
Right. Yeah, let's do it.
And just another point of information, in a couple of weeks, the construction work will be done down on Canal Avenue. And the peak ambulance at night will be taken off duty. So there'll be less ambulances on duty during the nighttime hours.
Thanks, Eric. Huh, okay,
Council President, I just have a
Yes,
question. It's probably
Councilmember
for-
Steele.
it's Probably for Councilmember Sorrento.
sure.
So can we, if someone is on a list for another municipality, can we hire from that?
The only
list?
way that you can hire is if they are hired in that force and they do a lateral transfer.
Okay.
But you can't remove or appoint someone off of someone else's eligible list and bring them over here. The only thing that they can do though is they can cross file. So a candidate can apply for, let's say, Schenectady and also apply for City of Troy. And then wherever, I mean, it's the same exact exam. So, and they don't take it twice. It's just, they're going to be on the list for,
Multiple
let's say,
lists.
Schenectady. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, cross file. Very good. Councilmember Steele, net cross file. I know 3 or 4 people who have done that, only they live in Albany, might want to go to Saratoga and et cetera. We're going to move forward with 7. I'm going to make a motion to put a motion forward to hire 2 additional firefighters. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? We can do slow roll then. Councilmember Gully. Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Steele. Councilmember Min.
No.
Councilmember Conley Wilson.
I definitely see the need in having additional firefighters, having additional manning. The chief went through line by line with this. Eric's been at every single council meeting, I think, this entire year. But I do think that we need to really focus on recruiting, and I think we really just kind of need to look at where do we need to focus our attention, and how do we actually get out of the cycle of like not having enough staffing. I'm voting no on this amendment, but I still think that this is a serious issue that we need to look at. We need to get this study done. We need all the information that we need to make the correct decision. And I hope, as a council, we can, figure out what to do moving forward.
Councilmember Soriento.
I vote yes, but I would like to say I'm a bit taken back and disappointed to see these additional positions not being unanimously supported for the funding. This is critical, like Council President Yantello said. It's very critical. And as I do see that all positions are valued, but I see that priority has been taken place of certain positions that are vacant within City Hall over our safety. And I'm really disappointed. I really am. But I vote yes for additional funding.
And, not to regurgitate everything that's been said tonight, you know my feelings. We've worked very hard looking at these amendments. Like I said, we didn't take a scalpel out. We didn't gut any department. Many of these have been vacant, particularly two for quite some time. But saying that, our priorities on the minority side is to essentially, much like when we offered amendments to hire community police officers and that was shot down, we're being shot down with additional firefighters. And we all know recruitment's essential, staffing is essential, the vacancies need to be addressed. The test, obviously, we got to get that through civil service. And frankly, I would actually recommend bumping up that date and maybe having it before December 20th so we can get that confirmed. More importantly, we need a long-term solution. Our goal was to look at this long-term, not continue with Band-Aids, even though we know that Band-Aids are going to continue until the firefighter staffing issue is addressed. This was the beginning. It addressed manning. We know of the vacancies. It wasn't just about the vacancies. It's about the positions. I vote aye. And unfortunately, Amendment 7 goes down 4-3.
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Figueroa.
So I just want to say that I fully support.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
we're on to the next. You already voted. We're on to
I have a
Amendment 8.
comment.
I'm sorry, you could do it at Amendment 8. We're done with Amendment
I
7.
will wait till.
Okay.
I mean,
Amendment 8.
You have extensive and you talk very
Yeah.
long, and it's okay when you talk. but
You had your
okay.
floor. You had your floor, council
on-
member.
on Amendment 8, I'll be
Yeah.
talking.
Very good. Council member,
Let's keep it
just
short
learn the
too.
rules. Council
Very true.
member, let's see. Amendment 8. I would really refrain from any comments, please. Amendment 8. Amendment 8 is a very small but very large in return. We are proposing the minority, as I mentioned earlier, an employee retirement recognition. As I stated, it's been put on the wayside for many years. And unfortunately, that's just something that we feel is unacceptable. So we would like an employee luncheon, maybe a small pin for retirees, a very small amount of $2,500. It is an A1430. Andy recommended that we put a little bit more money into that, correct? Or can we utilize that money?
I had set up a new account for this,
Okay,
just to have it. For years, to be quite honest, the accounting system had the wrong account name on it.
okay.
1430-409 was labeled employee recognition and it was consultant services. So what I did here was create a new account with a sub number 1, so that if this were to pass, there'd be a clear distinction as to what it is to be used for, and not commingled with other money that has different purposes for it.
Thank you. And, on this one, we were working with Monica for a little bit, but then it kind of got put on the back burner during COVID, which is explainable and justifiable. But it was monies that were put aside for employee recognition. And that is now being used for.
That's what I was, so that I believe there was one situation where there wasn't an employee, there was pursuant to, I believe, a CSEA contract that an employee was submitted for something. But the years that it was labeled in the budget employee recognition is what I was referring to, that the account was labeled wrong in the accounting system. That has since been fixed.
Okay.
So it's clear going forward.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to add amendment number 8 as mentioned, Andy helped explain the accounting end of it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Councilmember Soriento. Discussion?
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Steele.
So I have a couple questions. You mentioned employee recognition, then there's a luncheon. Are we set on a luncheon? Is that the plan?
No, totally up to the administration.
So-
We're recommending some type of small luncheon for the retirees
So-
one during the year.
So, okay, and have we based this on any conversations, any polling, any data to see whether employees really want anything? And
Yeah.
and
I've
if so,
talked to
what do they
them.
want?
They just want some recognition, but they thought
'Cause they,
coming together
they
at
do
a
get, they
luncheon
do get
would be very
recognition.
nice. Well,
But so I guess I would be interested in knowing, basing it on some data. I'd like to know what the employees really want. And it's not just a conversation with one or two.
well, we
um,
could put it in. If they don't want it, pull it out. But
Well-
we're putting it in. Our recommendation, we're gonna put money in for some type of annual retirement recognition. Let them pull it out. If they don't want it, they can pull it out. This is the council saying, we're gonna put money in for you for an annual luncheon, a recognition to retirees. If they don't want it, pull it out. This is us just saying we're not gonna micromanage. If they don't want it, pull it out.
Council President,
Councilmember Min.
I think it's a great idea. And I know that we've talked about it on both sides of the aisle. How do we recognize the work that people do and the milestones they reach in their careers? Whether or not our city staff who are retiring would like to have lunch with us, that's entirely up to them.
Not us.
Perhaps.
We don't have to go.
But I would say that,
don't
I
get
think
that.
that it's an opportunity for us to work creatively, not only across the aisle with the administration, and do something. It's not a big thing, but like, we do really care. And so, I think this is a good first step. And I think, we really do try to recognize people in our community, but people you work with every day are sometimes the ones you spend the most time with. So.
Well, actually,
you,
Council
Council.
President, I just wanted to share that I have requested the listing of
I
the
saw that.
2022 retirees and have asked that we as a council recognize them under our good news next meeting,
Mhm.
at our next meeting. So, which would be January, I guess, actually. So, maybe we can put our money where our mouth is and put some kind of reception together to whoever wants to come to that. Just a thought.
Thank you.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Figueroa.
So before I get into this, this is in regards to the fire department. I fully support the fire department, and I know that there's some problems with recruiting, and I am going to commit 110% in that process. I have talked with Eric in regards to helping with the recruiting process. I do workforce development. So anything I can do for those 10 vacancies, there's an event this weekend where I have talked to Eric where he can come and table. I'm going to fully commit my boots on grounds to helping the department, the recruitment process, bring in diversity, whatever we need to do to make sure that we fill those vacancies. As Jim said, this is not final. This is not final. We can always go back, right? It takes a process. It takes a couple months to get them right 100% into the force, and we can always go back to it. But not only me, but us as a council, we need to start hitting social media. We need to do boots and grounds besides advertisement to make sure that these vacancies are being filled. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm involved in that process. In regards to the employee retirement, I agree they do deserve a recognition. They worked years. They worked through COVID, and they work hard during during the years, and I'm pretty sure they put their blood, sweat, and tears, and this is their time to now relax from all the hard work that they've been doing. So support it.
Thank you, Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Gully.
I'm glad to see that members of the council are in support of this. It wasn't really about the number. It was just about the concept.
Mhm.
When people come to work and they work every day and they work hard, not everybody works hard, but the ones who work hard, they know who they are. They're the ones that usually don't say anything and they just keep working. And at the end of those 30 years, and I know some individuals because I've gone to their retirement parties that their family have thrown them because there was no recognition from the city. And it was hard to hear the stories of these guys saying, geez, you know, I got 33 years in that place. And it's not even a freaking pizza. They just say, you're punched out. See you later. Have a nice life. It just didn't feel comfortable for me to hear these stories. And that's why I started pushing the idea that in my life, the biggest asset I ever had were the people who worked for me. Because without them, I wouldn't have success. I wouldn't have the productivity. And I just think it's important to, I don't care if it's 25 cents, 2,500, 25,000. Forget the money. How about just walking up and shaking their hand one day after work, saying, hey, thanks for a great week. Or having somebody go over and say, hey, you guys doing a great job, man. I'll get you some pizza, wings or something. Just, it doesn't have to be a big amount. So I don't know what that 2,500 is going to be used for. And I don't know how many people retired. I don't know how many people are going to retire. But I think that we can figure something out. We're all human beings here and we all know what it's like to be respected. We can figure something out here that works. And if we don't use all 2,500, you can take the rest back and put it wherever you want. But I think that we just have to start recognizing the people who go out there and put their 40, 50 hours every weekend for the city and the people of the city. And sometimes we're so hectic, we're so busy, and there's so many important things in our schedule that we forget the little things. And I will tell you, it's the little things in life you do that really make it, not the big things. And I hope that we can look better on our employees and treat them in a better light, because we can get better productivity on them. They can be more inspired on their jobs and more aggressive to do their jobs when they feel like it's appreciated and that their work is being noticed instead of just going along like they're in a fog for 30 years. So I don't care about the money, but I think we have to do a better job of showing people that they really mean and are a difference to the city and the taxpayers.
Thank you, Councilmember. Further discussion?
Council President,
Councilmember Soriento.
I have to echo exactly what you're saying. It shows absolutely recognition. It shows appreciation. Especially, I mean, they're, working here so many years, and if they leave the city and they don't even get a thank you or, or some kind of acknowledgement of their years of service and their dedication, it's, it's not a good thing. And I think that, okay, it's the 2,500 is not much, but it's something. And I don't think that we need data for the obvious. I really don't. I'm in total full support of this, and I would love to see this grow in the future.
That's the idea. Thank you. Further discussion? We'll take a slow roll. Councilmember Gully,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa, Councilmember Steele.
Yeah, I am supporting it. I just want to correct, I think there's a misconception. Retirees do receive a certificate of recognition and appreciation. Whether you personally feel that's enough, well, we can make our voices heard going forward. I think we all agree that we value our employees. We wouldn't be able to provide the services our residents rely on if we did not have the caliber of employees delivering the services. And I think much of our argument tonight has been working towards bettering that workforce. So I think this is just another extension of that. So yes, I support.
Thank you. Councilmember Mann.
Absolutely, yes. And I volunteered to design the pins, and you are welcome to reject
I think
any design.
make buttons.
I can make buttons.
Councilmember Conley Wilson.
Yeah, I think we're all, in agreement today
Wow.
on one thing.
Whoa.
That's not bad.
Wow. And yeah, I mean, this has been something we've talked about throughout the entirety of the budget season even before. I've said this many times. I don't think we compensate our employees enough. So I think this is a great step forward into, actually recognizing those who have served and dedicated their lives to the city. So I vote yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Soriento.
Absolutely.
And just real quick, before my vote, when I oversaw the canal, there were employees who have been there 35, 40 years. The greatest thing about the annual luncheon, they had something very small. The greatest thing were the stories. And Councilmember Gully said best, to hear those stories of 40 years on the canal. I can only imagine what our city worked for, some of those stories, and I want to hear them. So thank you to all of you out there, and I vote aye. All right, amendment 8 passes 4-3.
Seven.
Oh, I'm sorry, 7-0.
Well, we're just so used to.
Hello, I know.
Feel like a chess game here.
Okay, now we are on to Amendment 9. Amendment 9 is totally an offset. We reduced the number of accounts in the clerk's office, recognizing that the assistant city clerk was being paid $33,000 approximately, was woefully being paid much less than other employees with similar duties. This is not about the person, even though the person in that position is phenomenal. This is about the position. So we reduced a number of accounts by $5,000. We propose to increase the assistant city clerk by $5,000. It's neutral, revenue neutral. And so I will make a motion. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second, Councilmember Min. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. You got the first unanimous. No, I like it. All right. We are now going to go to 10A. And I guess if we could talk about 10A and 10B together, it might make sense, Councilmember Steele. This is, so I received a letter and a phone call from the Troy seniors stating that other municipalities provide funding for the senior club. I had known that there were 2 other clubs. I didn't know if they were active, but they are.
Well, actually, the East Side has reached out as well.
Awesome. Good.
So I think we need to, if we're going to give 5 to 1.
yeah.
And I think the reason that 15 was, there had been traditionally 3, whether or not they are all active. We know that 2 are.
2.
We don't have to spend it if it,
Right.
but if they are active, and we need to be equal,
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
think.
So I'll withdraw 10A and we'll go with 10B. So Councilmember Steele, do you want to make a motion for 10B?
Sure. I would move that we include 15,000 for senior clubs in Troy for their activity.
And I'll second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 10B passes 7-0. We're now on Amendment 11. Take it away, Councilmember Steele.
Well, I forwarded to all of you a study that was done recently in the city of Albany. It's a survey of their positions. Many of the positions are similar to the ones in our city. The thinking being that perhaps we could do something similar. And because one has been done so recently in a municipality so close to us, that theirs was 90,000. I don't think it would take 90,000. Put 50 as a high figure. I would hope we could do it even less, but let's put an RFP out and see where we are at. There's lots of talk about increasing various salaries. And this would give us some data to base those decisions on. And so that's what I would like to propose
Okay.
as an
we-
amendment, so
Yep.
I would move that forward.
Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Figueroa, discussion.
Council President.
Councilmember Soriento, then Councilmember Gully.
Ladies first.
This one, I'm definitely taken back by this. Especially that, the support for, for this with, this $50,000 for a salary survey over, making this a priority over adding 2 additional firefighters. Are you kidding me? No. This is, I'm sorry, but I choose safety over a survey of people's salaries. I mean, you can find that in Google. I'm sorry, I'm gonna vote no on this.
Councilmember Gully.
Sue, I know exactly where you're coming, Councilperson Sue Steele. I know exactly where you're coming from. And I believe that the report, if we spent $50,000, would have probably the same information and results as the one from Albany. I think all municipalities, federal and state facilities are underpaying people, but they give them such an exorbitant benefit package in the back end, and there's an expense to that. So even doing so, to do that at this time, and I'm not saying it's wrong to do, I just think the timing might be a little off. And I'd like to ask that we might hold off on this to a later date, because I will tell you the story. I raised some hairs when I talked about speaking about looking to raise the council's pay. And I know that was talked about quite a bit. And I did my research with our legislative assistant, who was back to me within 7 hours with the first set of information. And then within, I don't know, maybe the next morning, I got the rest of the information. And I don't know how much we have utilized our legislative assistant to do these type of things. And the statement you made is very true. I mean, Google is the smartest thing on the universe. You can find anything out there. You don't know if it's really real, so you have to do some extra research, but you can find anything out there, and you have to be able to sift through all the chaff, right? And luckily, Seamus is a talented guy to do that. So I've seen nothing but raises, contractual raises coming in on positions for the 7 years I've been here. I get amazed. I think, how can they say this is not enough? Man, look at how much these guys are making, So, and I understand where you're coming from. I just think the timing might be wrong. I would support this at a different time, but I'm not able to support it tonight. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to push this legislation to the council, because I think all of you, and I think the future leaders that come to this table respectively should get that raise, because of the workload. And the difference in the workload that you're facing in today's world is different. Trust me, a lot different when I started just a simple 7 years ago. I can't believe how it's transitioned and how much work you and I and the other members have to do now. So I will be pursuing that. But $50,000 at this time, when we just said no to a different cause, and again, it's about priorities. So it's not that I don't believe this is necessary. I just think that the timing's not right for it. And that's the only reason I won't support it tonight. But I would hope that we would all think about that, because as the other delayed positions, this right now would not do us any good running into the next 6 months, because we don't have any money to give them, even if they say we got to give more. So we should just wait and take some time, run through our budget the way we have it, hold back on this. And then in the summertime, I would seriously consider the information to support this process moving forward. That will make a difference moving forward. So I don't want you to think I'm saying no because I'm political, because I'm the worst politician in the world. But I will tell you that I won't support it now, but would very much consider it, towards the middle to end of next year, because I think it's something that we should research. But I don't want to spend $50,000 on that when I just told. I don't want to spend $50,000. So I really don't. That's the way it feels.
Do you want to make a motion to table? You initially started out that.
Well, I don't know what kind of support I would get, and I don't want to just sit here and fight a chess battle with everybody. If
All
you
right.
think it's a good idea, I would let you do it. I would just like to wait a little bit and see, why throw $50,000 of taxpayer money in this budget right now when we're filling these other positions that aren't even filled yet and not go. So I will, listen, I just don't want to waste our time, but I will make a motion to table for now and consider to come back in the summer or when we get
Okay,
halfway through the year.
we have
I
a
don't
motion
know.
to
I don't know what you
table.
guys-
Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Figueroa, discussion. We'll take a slow roll.
Wait,
Oh, I'm
Council
sorry,
President.
Councilmember Min.
I do think that because we've been able to access Albany study and learning that Seamus is willing to go and do all kinds of research. I mean,
I told him that, by the way.
and to be honest, we probably underutilized you. And so congratulations. I think you probably just found yourself a really big fun Christmas project. And I think if we can produce a report that really looks at our, at salaries, there is a risk if you are underpaying people that it eliminates a whole class of people who can become involved in local government. So I think the information is really necessary. And I think let's try to put this on the agenda to revisit for February, which gives you plenty of time and us to digest what Albany's done.
Absolutely.
And then see where we're at. And we can have an internal report that can help make us have an informed decision. But then, if we feel like we need an external one at that point for unanswered questions, then we can move forward with that.
Thank you,
Council President.
Councilmember Min. Councilmember Steele.
Yeah, I think there might have been some misunderstanding. The idea of the scope of this was not just one department or whatever. Was
I know.
across the board. It was going to look at many municipalities similar in size to us. I'm very grateful to our legislative assistant. And if he's willing to take that on, more power to you.
He's got a Superman shirt, council colors.
But I do think, I'm adamant that we should have some data to base decisions on, and that was the hope in this case. I support the table. We're not voting now, I guess.
Not yet. Rick,
Council President.
Council President,
Yeah.
members of the council, I'm not sure that a motion to table on a budget amendment would be in order. I
right.
mean, Council President, you're the judge
Yeah. No.
ultimately of those
No,
questions.
you're right.
but,
You're right. Yep. Very good.
Because we're
Thank
trying
you.
to set a tax levy.
Yep. Got it. Thank you, Rick. We'll withdraw the motion to table if that's okay.
I withdraw it as
And I know.
been,
Okay.
having made the
President.
motion, I now withdraw the motion.
Okay.
Council
Very good.
President, thank
One sec.
President.
Yep. So Amendment 11 is withdrawn.
Yeah.
Councilmember Figueroa.
Yeah, so that was the thing is like, we didn't want to get that raise and then all the other employees, we wanted it to be as fair, as transparent as possible where, okay, well, we're requesting and Jim and I had discussion,
Yeah.
was like, hey, city council, should we get more money than we wanted to base it on data where let's just do analysis on every department and make sure everybody's getting treated equally, compensated
Oh,
equally.
absolutely.
Instead of just, okay, we can vote today, okay, we'll take $5,000. No, that's not what we wanted.
Council President.
Very good. Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Gully.
Councilmember Figueroa, you're exactly right. And this is something we can go back and visit. And I'm willing to do that because as we move forward, again, the whole purpose is creating the best out of our employees. Right? I just think the timing tonight is not right. And I thank Councilperson Steele for withdrawing number 11.
Thank you. Moving on, the last amendment. Do you want to get out of the room for a
No.
couple of minutes? Amendment 12, the council member Steele and I are introducing Amendment 12, which essentially will bring the comptroller's salary in line with many other municipalities. So I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
There was a lot of seconds,
Everybody,
Andy.
we'll take Councilmember Steele since she is co-sponsor with me. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No
My
one.
gosh, was that easy or that easy? Jeez. All right, thank
Now
you.
we're on
You're welcome.
pause.
Merry Christmas.
And we are at ease as Andy goes in the back room, does a little magic, then we'll come back out and vote on resolution. We're still on reso, bear with me, 116. So the council is at ease. And thank you, Rick. Thank you. I know.
Felt like it just played a hockey game.
Yeah, I did. I pushed him up the stairs, up the bed.
Yeah, I saw it.
love like Italian.
Emily punched him?
Upstairs,
You
upstairs, get fallen over,
Oh.
get up.
Oh, Stan. I know. Emily, I'm so sorry to hear that. It's. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're resuming. We did not adjourn. We were at ease. The council meeting, finance meeting. And as folks probably saw, some amendments were passed, some went down. So resolution 116 has a motion, has a second. Now we need to amend resolution 116. But first, I'm going to throw it over to our comptroller, Andy.
So the total reductions were $4,616. General fund, and obviously zero for the other four funds. So at the bottom of resolution 116, there are 5 blanks. They should be, please amend as follows. The first blank should now be 79798 043. 79798 043.
Mhm.
The next blank, 5429380. 5429380.
Whoa. Oh, okay, so
I'm just going to read them twice.
why
f-
not 080? Because you did 043.
The
That's-
third blank, it's the same. So the next 4 blanks are going to be the same as they were above.
Okay.
So the third blank is 13268 The fourth blank, 3774072. And the final blank, 6483629.
648.
6483629.
Gotcha. The one before that was 3774072.
Can you repeat the third one?
13268
The actual legislation. Of resolution 116. Let's look at the backup. Okay.
What I will do tomorrow morning is send the city clerk an amended Schedule A reflecting what was approved this evening.
Okay. Andy, on the last one, you said 648-629. 6483. That's, yeah. Okay.
That's the debt service.
Yep. Yeeks. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Oops. Forgot my iPad. What's that? What's that? Yeah. Yep. Yippers. Okay. So we now have to amend it to Andy's numbers. Does everyone have the numbers? Okay, so I will make a motion to amend to put those 5 numbers in their lines. And I'll ask for a second. Second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion? I'm going to do slow roll. Councilmember Gully?
This is the budget vote. This is the- She'll vote it.
No, I don't think so. No.
I'll vote no.
Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Steele.
Yes.
Councilmember Min.
Yes.
Councilmember Conley Wilson. Councilmember Soriento.
No.
And quickly, I won't belabor anything. Obviously, we've been here for 2 hours talking about the budget. And the minority put forward what I felt was very common sense amendments. Unfortunately, they were voted down along with some of our proposals, saying that there's no way I can support a budget when we work so hard to not try to diminish services, hire 2 additional firefighters. And we all know the issues with the vacancies. This was more increasing their man power. And long story short, I'm just very disappointed. I think we went about it very non-political, very common sense, didn't take a scalpel out, and just disappointed. I was really hoping that we would get some support for some of our amendments. So I have to vote no. Resolution 116 passes 4-3. All right. Ordinance 72, ordinance appropriating the various amounts as approved in the city of Troy budget for.
I do believe you have to
I'm
vote on
sorry,
70 and
that's-
71 first.
Yes, and I apologize. That was on the amended 116. Now on the amended, is there a motion?
So move.
Sorry. Is the motion, Councilmember Steele? Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Min. This is 116 amended. That was on the amendment. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Nay.
Nay.
So resolution 116 amended passes 4-3. I apologize. We have to pass 70 prior, correct, Andy? Yeah. Yep. Ordinance 70, ordinance amending chapter 216 of the Troy City Code, Councilmember Gully, at the request of the administration. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Min. Discussion, Councilmember Gully, do you want to just give a quick overview?
Well, city taxpayers invested a lot of money into one of their businesses. And when you invest money in a business, you look to get a little bit of return on the investment. I think that the job that was done for my part at the golf course was a lot of work. It turned that course from a cow pasture into a country club. And that costs a lot of money. The golfers have been warned all year and acknowledged that, the price increase is fair. And I think that this is right for the taxpayers so they can get a little return on their investment. And I know it's not the last increase we'll have to do because there's a lot of money there, but I'm sure that, the taxpayers will appreciate that we're trying to get their money back on the investment they made. So I think it's important to pass.
Thank you, Councilmember Gully. And if I could add, I kind of went back and forth with this one. I never want to vote to raise fees. However, I actually voted no a few years ago, and that was before the improvements to this incredible asset. The golf course is so much more than for golfing. And I cannot commend Greg and the crew up there. I think they have done a phenomenal job. If you recall the bonding, Greg wanted it all at once. We actually said, let's do it in phases and let's see the results. Let's really see what you're capable of doing. 3 years later, that golf course has turned around twofold. I want to say Josh Buell came to the committee meeting and really gave some hardcore data to Councilmember Steele's, request also. We want data, and he had concrete data compared to other regional municipalities, the fees, where we were in line. So saying that, I think that this is very justified. And after talking to Councilmember Gully at length and someone who frequents the golf course, both golfing, not very good, and also walking, and it's in my backyard. So saying that we do need to come in line with other regional golf courses, so I will support it. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ordinance 70 passes 7-0. Ordinance 71, ordinance amending the code of rules and regs of the Department of Public Utilities to establish new water and sewer rates. Councilmember Steele, at the request of the administration, is there a motion?
So move.
Motion, Councilmember Men, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson, discussion?
Council President.
Yep, Councilmember
Um,
Soriento.
Although I do not like seeing our water rates or anything increasing. I feel like our hands are tied with this one only because of the increase in the chemicals, the increase in the pipes. I mean, I honestly didn't want to support it, but I don't think I have a choice. Only because of inflation and the cost of everything. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Councilmember Soriento. Further discussion?
Council President,
Councilmember Min.
I also don't like raising the fees, but clean, safe drinking water is kind of an important thing. And Andy, I wanted to say thank you because one of the ways that you really helped me understand the impact is by using your own family as an example. And I know we don't have room on the water bills to include anecdotal of how much this is going to cost. But that was very just those little pieces that take numbers and turn them into stories that then ground you will also help us as we're talking to people and explaining we have to make those raises. We can say a family of 4, this is what it's going to cost you realistically if you're bathing your children regularly. So thank you for that.
And, you know, Andy, on that note, just for folks that are listening, our numbers are actually up compared to prior meetings. So for the public out there, I want to make sure they understand how much will this go up for the average family, the proposal?
The average family for a family of 4, it would increase, looking at the last 2 quarter bills, the first quarter was $4.37, and the second quarter of it, the analysis was $5.15. So it averages out to about $20 annually.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 71 carries 7-0. Now let's go to ordinance 72. Ordinance appropriating the various amounts as approved in the city of Troy budget for fiscal year 2023 and levying taxes on all taxable property within the city of Troy in the amount required to be raised by property taxes for the fiscal year 2023 budget. Councilmember Steele, at the request of the administration. Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Andy, yes, numbers.
Section 4, the amount of,
Hold on, I apologize. I don't have my iPad, so I'm using my iPhone. Sorry. Okay,
section 4, that the number should be amended, please amend it to 2, 7, 4, 1, 8, 8, 9, 8.
say that again. I'm so sorry.
2, 7, 4, 1, 8, 8, 9, 8.
Okay,
In section 5, the number should be amended to 2, 7, 8, 1, 8, 8, 9, 8.
okay. And that's our 4,000 and change.
It's the 4,000, so both numbers decreased $4,616.
Yeah, amazing. First, let's make a motion to amend and then we'll discuss. Okay, thank you. So I will make a motion to amend the numbers accordingly to what Andy just gave. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. This is only on the amendment discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the amendment passes. Amended ordinance 72. Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion, Councilmember Go.
Andy, I know that some of the 3,476 people out there watching us and the overabundance of crowding terror. Out there, somebody's got a question about the MAC. We're just coming out of the MAC. Some people have said, well, we're gonna be $5 million.
Yeah.
We've heard that, but those are people that really don't have all the bits and pieces and tools of what happened there. Could you just kind of brief us out on how the MAC played out, paying it up, and where we're going forward with that? And give us your explanation for where we are.
So as we've discussed, the MAC itself is a very complex accounting system unto its own. The MAC, there was a budget impact and a non-budget impact that was essentially 50-50 between the two itself, which is where there's been a perception that when the MAC ceased to exist, the city would have budgetary savings of $6 million. That is not true because first of this 50-50 split, 50% of that was strictly to the general fund balance sheet. No budget impact whatsoever. The second component was that the MAC debt costs themselves were decreasing over the last several years. We hit the high water mark in 2019 or 20, I believe it was 2018, and then it started to slide from there as bonds were retired. The MAC budgetary savings to the 2023 budget, net of offsetting revenues, was approximately between $1.5 and $2 million. That savings we had been settling contracts and also incorporating new debt into that savings itself. And as it's in the mayor's budget message, and we discussed throughout the budget process, we had expenditure increases of $460,000 in 2023 of contracts. Pension increased $650,000. That was not anticipated. Healthcare increases of $1 million. Insurance increases of $450,000. That was not anticipated. General inflation increases of $750,000. That was not anticipated. There's components in 2023 that no one saw coming 12 months ago. And in particular, interest on debt, which increased $500,000, which, as we saw during the finance budget hearing, we got less than 0.5 effective interest on a short-term note issued in January of 2022, and it was up near 4% by the fall. The max savings was eaten entirely in this budget process up through unforeseen expenditures.
Well, I mean, they were foreseen, we know.
They were foreseen in September when we started working on the budget, but when we sat here a year ago, voted, and when the budget vote happened last year, this was not foreseen.
And I appreciate that, because I just think that it's good to have some clarity and to voice out exactly what happened to that MAC, because there's a lot of people who thought that, we're meticulously trying to steal their money by raising the taxes, because we have a bounty full of MAC money sitting in some, maybe in the mayor's drawer, who knows? I don't know, but they must have thought it was somewhere. And I heard a lot of it, and you try to battle that out. You try to tell me it's really not what you think. We don't have $5 million. But it's good for you to do this since you run the numbers for the city and own up to the calculator that's attached to it. So people need to hear this, and I appreciate you bringing that out so they can understand that nobody lofts a big balloon with a basket full of money on City Hall's doorstep. That we're still struggling to keep our numbers right. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but on social media, it's torturous out there. You want to answer them all and you can't, so I hope those 300, oh no, what did I say, 3,416 people will pass the message on.
More than you think, though.
Further discussion? Okay, we are still on the amended ordinance 72. We have a motion, we have a second. Further discussion? All right, we'll take slow roll. Councilmember Gully. Councilmember Figueroa. Councilmember Steele.
Aye.
Councilmember Min.
Yes.
Councilmember Conley Wilson. Councilmember Soriento.
Yes.
Council President Mantella, I'm voting now. Ordinance 72 passes 6-1. All right, we'll take a motion to adjourn and then go into the special. Motion, Councilmember Gully, is there a second? Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we're adjourned from the finance. If we could get right into the special. It is past 6 o'clock, so we're good to go. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, how about Councilmember Figueroa? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Maria, roll call.
Yep.
Councilmember Gully. Councilmember Gully. I got rushed, so I'm rushing you.
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa.
Here.
Councilmember Steele.
Present.
Councilmember Men.
Here.
Councilmember Conley Wilson.
Present.
Councilmember Soriento.
Here.
Council President Mantello.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. We have 7 present, 0 absent. Presentation of the agenda. These are the budget items that just passed the finance and now are on the special. We'll go right into the public forum. Would anyone in the public audience, including this absolutely gorgeous dog, what is his or her name?
Francis.
Francis. Hello, Francis, with an E or an I? Okay, I like it. Hello, Francis. You're welcome to speak. Eric Wisher. Thank you, Eric. Hi. Thank you for hanging out. And I know it's late, but thank you.
So I was back there talking with Danny. We didn't really get an answer on the surge ambulance being 600,000 in next year's budget and only 432 this year. The 432 was for 2 captains every day on overtime. Obviously, we didn't have 2 captains every day, so it's a lesser number. But if you're really interested in providing service for your constituents and making sure guys are safe, I ask that you advocate to use whatever's left in that 600,000 over the 400,000 to keep that ambulance on duty at night next year. So that we have
Yeah.
24-hour coverage with that
Absolutely.
ambulance.
Can we talk about that real quick? Andy, what is the reasoning? Okay. Eric? Thank you.
Yeah, we started January 1st. The difference this year is when the construction started at Canal Avenue, we put it on at night and didn't advocate for that money. But next year, we put in more money and not having it at night. But it's
Can
been
we-
on since January 1st.
Can we take a look at that, Mayor, and potentially look at having that 4th ambulance at night?
Sure, it's probably another 660,000.
It was 432 this year for the daytime.
Okay. If we can at least explore
It's zero right now.
Hmm.
used we used the full appropriation already.
Right, because we ran it at night for Canal Avenue.
But
the
next year we
construction.
budgeted for 6 something, correct?
I had to pull it.
Yeah. Well, let's do some homework.
Thank you.
And yes, yeah, we got to look at that. All
Thank
right.
you.
They probably just talk to each other.
I want to know too.
Yeah,
I know, but,
we could get an answer.
but having a
without
conversation
meeting.
would be
Yeah.
nice.
Sounds good. Hi, John.
Hi,
Um,
John Kane. I just wanted to point out, I was trying to follow along with the amendments during the finance meeting. You guys didn't send out the amendments as part of the agenda. I need to remind you, I guess, again, that if you're going to discuss something, it really does have to go out on the agenda 24 hours in advance. That's not just an inconvenience for me, that's an inconvenience for anyone who wants to come and participate in the process. There have been a number of times, the Madden administration is extremely bad about it, but I'm disappointed to see that the city council is also dropping the ball on transparency and communication.
And John, I have to correct you on that amendments, because they are done on the floor. The legislation needs to be on the agenda 24 hours. The amendments are being done on the floor. So basically,
Fair enough, and I'll
We-
take a look at
yeah.
that, but
yes.
yeah.
And believe me, I.
The least you can do is only the least you can do. I
Yeah.
would expect that you would
Yeah.
do more.
Sure. Thanks, John. Thank you. Further comments? Anyone like to come to the podium? Not you, Mr. Donnelly. I'm sorry. Mayor?
Just a reminder, Victorian Stroll, Sunday, 11 o'clock until 5 o'clock.
Awesome. And some breakfast before 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, yeah.
This Sunday, 11 to 5.
Tomorrow night at the Waterville Fire Out, there's a council meeting, but it's the 25th anniversary of the death of Chief Tom McCormick up on Congress Street at a mutual aid fire. He
25.
sacrificed
years.
his life in the city.
25 years, Eric. Wow.
So,
Unreal. Unreal.
just keep that in your thoughts tomorrow.
Hey, Eric, are you attending?
What's that?
Are you attending?
Yes,
Please
6
let them
o'clock.
know that the council is there in spirit.
All right.
Okay.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will do a moment of silence tomorrow evening. Okay. Waterville firefighter but he passed away on the line of duty here in Troy, mutually.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else before we move on? All right. Francis? Ordinance 70.
Ordinance 70, ordinance amending chapter 216 of the Tri-City Code, Councilmember Gully at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Ordinance 70 passes.
Ordinance 71.
Ordinance 71, ordinance amending the Code of Rules and Regulations of the Department of Public Utilities to establish new water and sewer rates. Councilmember Steele at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
7 ayes, 0 nos. Ordinance 71 passes.
It's okay. now.
Resolution
Resolution
116
first,
and
that's
ordinance
what I thought.
72.
Yep, all right. Resolution 116.
Resolution 116, resolution adopting the mayor's recommended budget for the city of Troy for fiscal year 2023 or adopting an amended budget for the city of Troy for fiscal year 2023. Councilmember Steele at the request of the administration.
Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion. Councilmember Gully.
I will say that in my time here, I looked over a lot of budgets. This one was the tightest, and most difficult one to look through to find any type of fact. Do things with them. The only really option we had were the positions that were never filled. So we try to utilize that to make the city safer, stronger, and better. It didn't really work out. I respect the work that you did on the budget. I respect the numbers. I thought that we could get it sway our way to get a little more value for the taxpayer. So while I won't support it with my vote, I will tell you that I can applaud you guys for the work you have to put through Andy. The numbers are too accurate, man. I can't find any mistakes. I'm getting sick and tired of this stuff. You know, but thank you for all you do, and we really appreciate you here on both sides of this table, both sides of the atmosphere. You're just a gem for this city. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Councilmember Gully.
Council President,
Councilmember Steele.
I'd like to echo parts of what my colleague said. But I do want to thank the administration, the mayor and controller for this budget, and also for the departments and the employees who heard the call that there will be no fat, and they didn't. They didn't add unnecessary expenses. It was a tight budget. And I want to commend my members of the majority who recognized that and decided that it was more important to step up for the residents of the city rather than make an attempt at a surgical procedure using a scalpel, perhaps, or a political for political purposes. Those positions are needed to provide valuable services to our citizens. And whether they're filled or not at this moment in time, that does not mean that they are subject to removal, because the services aren't subject to removal. Those services are needed day in, day out. So I want to thank everyone involved in this budget process. It's been a long and grueling time for all members of the council. We listened, and I thank the department heads for making their presentations. In the end of the day, I think we can all sit back and say we did the best for the people of Troy. That's why we're here. And I feel we've done our job.
Thank you, Councilmember Steele. I could not disagree more. And quite frankly, to turn what the minority did into misstatements, non-facts, the minority, if we were to take out a scalpel, we would have saved close to $1 million, because we know that there is more efficiency that can be done here in City Hall. Saying that, what you saw tonight, folks, was, I guess, philosophy and politics. Unfortunately, the minority, what we said was, you know what? We're not going to get political. We're not going to gut departments. We literally kept 5 positions, 2 which have been vacant for over 2 years, to continue them vacant. We are also talking about a fire department that is in crisis, where their morale is the lowest I've seen, and was on the council in the 90s when the city-run ambulance was put in place. Fast forward 30 years, the staffing has not changed much. We have more apartments in the city of Troy than ever. The demographics have changed. And what the minority tried to do was serve the people of Troy. What the minority tried to do was say, okay, we don't want to touch services. We don't want to hurt services. We're going to figure out a way, not hurting city services, but at the same time, adding manning to the fire department. You heard it earlier. The chief asked for 8. We knew, okay, we couldn't do 8. But guess what? The minority stepped up to the plate, looked at the budget, literally line by line by line, met 3.5 hours and said, we'll be able to figure out to squeeze out 2 firefighter positions, and at the same time, reignite for the people, for the neighborhoods, a quality of life task force that requires no additional money. Just the deputy mayor and the mayor implementing a very common sense work ethic in terms of tackling our neighborhood issues, illegal dumping, blighted buildings, getting code enforcement to work across the lines with litter patrol, DPW, target the hot areas that need it most. Councilmember Figueroa knows it's hitting his neighborhood, it's hitting my backyard, it's hitting the east side. Lansingburg, it's horrific. I already have 3 requests in for alleyways, illegal dumping. These can be tackled by combining our forces and getting our departments to work across their departments. But saying that, to turn around and say that the minority took a scalpel out, I used the word scalpel and said, we most definitely did not take the scalpel out. We did not cut. We took positions that are vacant and we put them toward the firefighters. So the people of Troy, they know the truth. And the people of Troy, I will go door to door and I will ensure that the people of Troy know that it was a study to study non-reps and elected officials over 2 firefighters. I mean, no matter what, the priorities for the minority are for the people of Troy. And whether it's supported or not, that whole study, we are trying to ensure that our public safety is not hindered here in the city. Further discussion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Mann.
budgets, if budgets made everybody happy, we wouldn't need them.
It's easy being in the minority, isn't it?
It doesn't matter,
Right.
majority, minority. I mean, fundamentally,
Shouldn't be about politics.
fundamentally, we've got a limited amount of money and we have to figure it out. And the good thing is that, you know, after 25 years of austerity and the financial responsibility that has gotten the MAC that paid off, which did give us wiggle room that we wouldn't have had in the past. We would not have had the wiggle room to deal with inflation, spiking healthcare costs, things that are completely outside of anyone's control. You know, we have been working on austerity. We feel it in our staffing. We feel it in our equipment. We feel it in the condition of our roads and services, and we're moving out of it. We are moving in a positive direction. And this is going to sound a little weird, but I feel like the MAC debt may have, and the fiscal responsibility it imposed upon the city of Troy and an entire generation of people who are involved, have been involved in government and civil service, has led us to a much more sophisticated, tight, clean, transparent budget. And it made it so that we could go, you know, do an analysis, see if there is any wiggle room, see how you could move money around, because we have this beautiful document to work from. And it's never going to make everyone happy, because that's what budgets, it doesn't matter if it's your house, your household, or if it's a city. No one's ever going to be happy. So I want to really commend Andy, obviously, but not just you, Mayor, and all the department heads. And I want to commend my colleagues here, because I've learned a lot from you throughout the entire process. And the questions that you ask, how we sift through sometimes competing priorities, sometimes priorities that are the same, but we come at it from different angles and different perspectives. And, you know, I think our job is throughout the rest of the year, as things change, because we are in economically uncertain times. But we're also being very creative. We're seeing the grants that are coming in. We're seeing opportunities pop up. And I think that throughout the course, because we have solid foundation, a solid budget to work from, as opportunities pop up, we will be able to be nimble and take advantage of them. And that skill set, that sophistication, that professionalism that we're seeing in ourselves and working as a team is only going to be more needed, because Troy is moving in the right direction. We are moving in the right direction. We have people who want to move here, who want to bring their businesses here, and it's going to require a city government that can keep that momentum going. And I really want to say thank you. And I want to say, Councilmember Soriento, I've learned a lot from you about civil service. And it's something that for those of us who don't work in government, who are in the private sector or in the nonprofit sector, it is not something, it is complicated rules, and it does limit what we are able to do, even when we come up with absolutely genius ideas that are not possible. So thank you to everybody.
Okay, further discussion.
Council President.
Councilmember Soriento.
I'm actually, I feel pretty insulted, the fact that we were, accused of playing politics. There's no politics when it comes to public safety. There should never be, and that's not our intentions at all. We wanted to hire 2 additional firefighters because we see the crisis that they're dealing with right now. And then for the council majority to say that, oh, we're not going to fund this, but we're going to support the fire department. Actions speak louder than words. And I don't see how you can support the fire department, but yet say, yeah, we're not going to fund the additional 2 positions. I don't see it. And it's not politics. Okay. I'm sorry. My priorities are the taxpayers, our safety. That's the basic services. Those are my priorities. That's what I ran for, is for the taxpayers, for the residents, not for the politics of it. And I promised all of my constituents that I will work very hard to make sure that we get the funding for our fire, the funding for our police, for our basic services. That is a priority of mine. Maybe the salary survey is a priority for you, but mine is basic services. That's all I gotta say.
Further discussion. All right, we are on resolution 116. It's the amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
No,
4 ayes, 3 noes, resolution 116 passes.
Ordinance 72.
Ordinance 72. Ordinance appropriating the various amounts as approved in the city of Troy budget for fiscal year 2023 and levying taxes on all taxable property within the city of Troy and the amount required to be raised by property taxes for the fiscal year 2023. Councilmember Steele at the request of the administration.
Is there, and recall, this is amended. Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
No. Again, it's easy to be in the minority.
Councilmember Steele, you're completely out of order right now.
Well, I
You
thought,
are out of order. Please don't go there.
Council President,
I will take a motion to adjourn as soon as the clerk reads the roll.
4 ayes, 3 noes.
No,
Ordinance
5-2. Councilmember Gully voted aye.
5 ayes, 2 noes. Ordinance 72 passes.
I will take a motion to adjourn. Motion, Councilmember Conley Wilson. Is there a second?
second.
Second, Councilmember Soriento. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're done with the budget.